Okay, I am Prophet Shade Gilmore again, picking back off of part 1, but going straight into part 2 of God killed Bathsheba baby. That's part 1, and I was telling how uh, when you're married or you're standing for marriage, meaning God brought y'all two together. He told you that's your spouse, whether um, y'all done literally said I do in the earth or not. But for some reason, that person went away for a minute, causing a separation. They end up cheating on you, getting somebody pregnant, or end up getting pregnant by somebody that is not you. You have the right, and I took it from the point of a wife, but the husband, you can ask God too, the same thing. You have the right as the wife to ask the Lord to eliminate that illegal child because the child is in fact illegal. And I so why? Because the person that is carrying the child is not the wife. You are. Well, it doesn't matter if y'all done literally said I do in the earth or not at that moment. If and I say it again, if God calls y'all together for marriage, you're standing waiting for it to happen. You are the wife. You can ask God, take authority over the situation. That's what the Lord said. Take authority over the situation, said the Lord. Um, and you can ask the Lord, Lord, eliminate that illegal child that my husband went outside of me and made. These things I ask in Jesus' name. And it will be done. I'm telling you, it will be done. Uh, you don't go straight out saying God killed it. It's a way you say it. And that's something that the Lord taught me back in 21. And as I also shared, the biblical story and example he wanted me to use for this word was Bathsheba and David. David and Bathsheba in their situation. Bathsheba was a married woman. She knew that. He knew that. She ended up getting pregnant. That boom, that automatically made that child illegal. Why? Because King David was never Bathsheba's husband. Um, but David didn't just stop right there. He went on and decided to hand the husband of Bathsheba death, a judgment of death, because he couldn't cover up the secret that he was doing. He couldn't cover it up. It was going to be exposed. And out of fear of him being exposed, he decided to hand the husband death. Um, and God so nicely made King David pay up that same judgment. Hello, to whom much is given, much is required. That's what we stepping into part 2. And that's something you can read about in 2 Samuel chapter 12, because as I just said, David, he handed Bathsheba's husband death, trying to keep his cover up what he had did, trying to cover up his secret. Um, and so the Lord summoned up, the Lord sent Prophet Nathan to David to not only rebuke him, but to let him know the judgment that he was going to suffer, which is the same judgment he handed out to an innocent man who was somebody's husband, and that's Bathsheba. But let me go here and say this right quick. Talking back on standing in position, because one thing you have to do know is, yes, there is free will. Yes, we all have free will. And I done been on both ends of the side, on the we said ends of the stick. I done been on the side of the stick where the Lord told me this. This was actually last year. The Lord told me that's who He had for me. The person decided to step away, and the Lord promised that He was gonna bring it back, and I was to remain standing. But out of disobedience, I chose to walk away. But one thing the Lord did tell me before I chose to walk away, He said, the choice is yours. Why? Because one, He was testing me, but two, because we do have free will. And so you don't have to accept a certain person to as your husband or as your wife. Vice versa. They don't have to accept you as their wife or as their husband. Now, there's I would say there's certain situations where you don't have a choice. There are certain times where you don't have a choice. Like last year, I supposed to have remained standing in position for that marriage to be restored. Although we have at that time said I do, that was the person that God told me He had for me, promised that He was going to restore it. I was supposed to remain obedient to the Lord and remain standing, remain fighting for that marriage to be restored. But no, Adam, because Eve bit the apple of temptation and it was just taking too long for me, I decided out of disobedience to let it go. And I bit the apple of temptation too, meaning I walked away. I said, forget it. And I went and chose somebody myself. Now, vice versa. I don't been, and let's just be, it's not the person who I'm with as I'm, but I also been on the other end of the stick where this was back in 16. The Lord told me, which is going to go into something I need to say also. The Lord told me a certain person was my kingdom spouse, was my husband. He said, that's your husband. Uh, they didn't know it as of doing at that certain time. At that certain time, they wasn't there with God. I wasn't fully there with God, but I was in my 10-year process. Um, and and when it was time, the Lord would have brought it together. And I know for a fact it was very a lots of resistance put up against that whole situation. I moved before God, try to tell a person, oh, the Lord said you my husband. The Lord said you my husband, which I don't recommend you doing unless God tell you to take that step, because why? It put a fight where it shouldn't have been a fight. Meaning his mama was fighting against it. My main enemy was fighting against it. It was like the only people that should have remained knowing was me, God, and the person that confirmed it, that God used to confirm. And that was my mentor at the time. Other than that, should nobody knew that until God revealed it to him. So with all that being said, it was stolen. He did not choose me. Hey, but one monkey don't stop no show. God's so nice to continue to process me, bring me on. I can say for a fact, bring me on to last year, 2023, when he told me, he said, that's who I have for you. But because I was still in my rebellious state, well, I'll say I was still in my process. God was still processing me. I supposed to, as I just said, supposed to remain standing, but I chose to leave and walk away. So let me say this. With that being said, it doesn't matter. You could say, well, me and my kingdom spouse, we're currently not in a relationship. It doesn't matter if only you at that very moment know that a person is your kingdom spouse. It doesn't matter if they know it or not. If you the one that know it and you know they are messing around, you take the stand and remain standing for that marriage. It doesn't matter if God literally open his eyes to the truth about who you are, or even it doesn't matter if y'all in separation or not. So don't think, oh, it's because it's on this word is only for those that are literally married, that I said I do's, or for the kingdom spouses that y'all has literally been in communication, been in a relationship. No, it's for those also who what the Lord has told you, that's your spouse. That's who he have for you. But that person don't know it yet. But you know of their wickedness or their cheating ways. Cause God gonna tell you, cause that's what he did with me back in 16. He would tell me to pray, because although he didn't know it, he had me praying certain prayers for the marriage. But I end up in the end walking away too because he didn't choose me. But